Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be going over the 3 outfits that I made for this Halloween season, and I've posted the full outfits online, and I'm going to be deconstructing the pieces piece by piece and just going through how I made everything. So, starting off with my first outfit, this is the spider look as I've entitled it. I'm just going to be starting with the front of the jacket because it is the simplest part of this jacket. So this jacket was inspired by Argioporamptia, also known as the zipper spider, which I was a big fan of as a child. There was a giant one in the garden. So, I've got a black jacket here that I thrifted, bought used. It's in really good condition, just got some bit of, streaks from aged here. But I made these patterns out of yellow zipper here. So I've got half zippers in some places to get that sort of toothed edge, and I've got full zippers in places where I wanted a little bit more, and they do in fact still work. But they don't zip open to anything, it's just the material underneath it. It's hard to do it one-handed. So these are all hand-stitched on in a row along the top and a row along the bottom. And at the top we've also got some edges here and a different type of yellow zipper at the top with a bit thicker and darker colored zip to it. So that way it has a bit more definition, it stands out a bit more than these more sort of accenty pieces throughout. I really like how the front turned out, although it does read a bit like a fireman's jacket to me. But my favorite part of this whole jacket is these spider web chains in between the arms here. And I'm just sort of spreading them out so you can see them. Obviously they move around a lot better and they don't look so wonky when they're actually being held in the air and not just laying down on a piece of fabric. But for these I just sewed some chain into some anchor points up here, so I have 4 pieces going across and 4 pieces going down to create that spider webbing. And it is also like this on this side. I wanted to use 4x4 to make 8 pieces total because, spiders and the theme of 8 and all that. I really like how they move, especially when the arm is sort of pulled in this direction. You can really see the silver chain on the black part of the jacket here. And then up at the top we have some chain epaulets that I made. These just sort of hang down on the arm, and I used 1 gold chain on the outside and 2 silver chains here on the inside. And those just sort of hang down over the shoulders to give it a bit more interest in this otherwise kind of plain area. And also on the inside I used the last little bit of spared zipper to write my name and the years that I worked on this. Because I did also put the back of this on for a bonus post last year because I was hoping to get this jacket finished in time, but I only finished part of it in time. And you can probably guess why. This took a really long time. So all of this spider webbing here is gold chain. This is the only part of it that's loose. Everything else is individually stitched. Every single loop of the chain is hand stitched to create this golden spider web. And I really love how it's like shimmery and sparkly from all the metal. And since it is a zipper spider, it's known for having a sort of zipper shape down the center of its spider web, so I've put a big yellow zipper here sewn on. I needed a little bit of extension here because the jacket was a bit longer than the longest zipper that they had at Michael's. For the spider, this is just embroidery that I did on a spare piece of black fabric that I have. My tip is whenever I'm doing embroidery, usually I just use these little square plain black bandanas that are 99 cents at Walmart. It's a lot cheaper than actually buying just little bits of fabric. So I just embroidered that on and cut it out to the shape, and then I stitched that on so that way I wouldn't have to be doing embroidering directly onto leather. Because another part of the reason why this took so long is because this is a really hard material to stitch through by hand. And then at the bottom here we've got these 2 little shapes that then go to the ones at the front, and I wanted to make it look like they're sort of like zippers being unzipped at these parts, but they're actually 2 separate pieces to create that angle, and also so that you don't actually have to worry about this zipper going anywhere. Because that was another thing, is that I wanted to make sure that all these zippers were secure and not at any risk of falling off or coming apart at any point. Also going to here, you can see in the pockets, I sewed a little bit on the inside of the pocket so you have just sort of the zipper edge of it sticking out, just to give it a little bit more definition. And I also have some decorative stitching here where it's visible, so I want it to be sort of like these stripes instead of just stitching all the way across this way and then all the way across this way. Went back and forth like this in this area because I knew it would be poking through a little bit, so I wanted it to look interesting and not just sort of plain. So this is definitely the centerpiece of the outfit, and it was a lot of work, but I'm definitely really happy with how this jacket turned out. My one crit would be I have had some problems before with these parts where the chains meet coming apart because it is just sort of tied together with a little bit of embroidery floss, and the chains are not fully like connected. There's big sort of gaps in all of them. The best solution I could think of was to put metal sort of like rings in between each to hold it together, but I did actually try that and I liked the look less because it created like this weird sort of space and a lot of weird movement. They weren't so one-to-one. They moved sort of like separately from each other because they had that loop to move around on. So this isn't the most stable part, especially because it's mostly just like, it'd be fine if it was just sitting here, like it's held up just fine most of the time, but if it gets caught on anything, then it usually does come undone. But it's pretty easy to fix up when that does happen, and I'm sure eventually I will figure out something to do to make this a little bit more sturdy and stable. But overall, this jacket otherwise, like, this isn't going anywhere. I left these two little chains loose here to have a little bit of movement on the back here, right at the edge of the spiderweb, but there's such a small amount and everything around there is very tightly anchored, so this is all like pretty secure. All of the stitches on the decorative parts are also secure, and you can see how secure they are, because if I open it up, you can see all the stitching that's done on the inside of this. Because I had to use yellow and gold thread to match the zipper color so you wouldn't see it on the outside. So that's a lot of hand stitching. So let's move on to the next piece of this outfit. So the next part of this outfit, a very small piece, but one of my favorites, is a mask that I had printed of the face of Argia Parantia. It's a photo taken by Joanne Poe McGavin. I will link her in the description so you can check out her photography. But I really liked how this looks. It's very pixely because the image is very small, but it was really the best one I could find, and I kind of like the effect that it has. The company even contacted me like, are you sure it's really pixely? And I'm like, yes, this is what I want, please go with it. But it looks perfectly fine from a distance, and up close you can see the pixels, but it really doesn't bother me. So, on to the next piece. So, the shirt I wore with this outfit is just a MCR Danger Days shirt. I had no part in making any of this. I just had this in my closet, and it matched just so perfectly that I was like, I completely ditched the idea of making any shirt specifically for this because it matches so perfectly with the colors, and it even has a giant spider on it, so yeah, this was good to have. I really like this shirt. So, the last part of the outfit are these pants. These are a pair of heavily modified Hot Topic joggers. You can see here, I ordered them in 5XL because they have sort of a skinny jean, straight leg sort of cut to them, and I really wanted them to match the silhouette of another pair of pants that I have that also has this long belt situation going on. And I've always really wanted a pair of pants that were like yellow plaid on one side and black on the other, and these were like the only ones I could find that they even sold in sizes remotely close to mine. So I was like, okay, I can work with this. So I got the pants. They looked like straight up pantaloons, like they were insane. Even for a plus size person, they really just scaled up a pattern for a skinny person and said, okay, looks good to me. So I had to do some serious tailoring on these. And it's a little bit messy if you look up close, but because it's so patterned, I wasn't really worried about making it super clean. So starting with the back, I can show you, I just took out this whole section here and just cut out a giant portion of it and the inseam and just sewed it back together using a little bit of cloth to add some space to the inseam and take out a lot of space in the hips. And as a result, the pockets are like on the back of the pant leg, but I don't really use these lower pockets, so it's not a concern for me. I like how it makes it look a little bit more patchwork on this side. And these pockets do sit more at sort of like the side of my leg, so it's not really a concern. While we're at the back, I can show you how I did the belt. It's actually two belts. So this is a regular belt, this yellow one, that I got from Walmart, because I was like, this matches really well, kind of, but it's not long enough. And for the other one, I just took this, I think it was just a binder strap I might have had laying around and not actually a specific belt, and I just sewed it onto this part of the belt here, and I just sort of tuck it in halfway right in the back, and then since they're just sewed together in the back, they're just two separate pieces. It doesn't have a sort of real belt thing, but I just tie these together here, and then this hangs down over this leg, and I tuck this one into this back pocket here to create this sort of loop shape instead of just having it be two long strands. I wanted to have this sort of loop, and you can see here, there's the original buckle. And at the bottom, these are also really big, but I tuck them into my boots like this, and it creates this sort of puff around the base of the boot, which is the silhouette that I was wanting out of these. So yeah, I really like these pants. They're kind of bootleg, but it works. And now speaking of bootlegs, there are these boots that I modified. So starting out with the good, I switched the laces out to yellow to match, and I used some shoe goo to glue on zippers. These zippers don't move anymore, unfortunately, because it's so glued down, and I wrapped them in tin foil to keep them in place, and there's some pieces where the tin foil never came off because the glue was so intense. On to the bad parts of these boots. I wanted there to be these big yellow buckles on the back, and so I got some leather straps, and quickly discovered that this leather that the shoe is made out of, and the pleather that the shoe is made out of, and the real leather that these straps are made of, are both absolutely impenetrable to even try hand stitching. So they're stapled on. It worked better in some parts than others. This one I have to... Ow. Yeah, there's sharp staples, by the way, just sticking out of these. It doesn't go through to the inside, but that's also why they keep falling off. This one accidentally fell off because I was carrying it by the strap, the buckle, like an idiot up the stairs, and it just tumbled downstairs and ripped off. I'm thinking my best solution would be to try to use some of that shoe goo that I used down here on these straps here, but I didn't do that in the first place because I was worried that, like, it might not hold up to the stress of being unbuckled to get to the zippers and having it, like, be around my legs, but clearly the staples have not held up to that. I mean, they held up enough for me to wear them out, which is fine, so, like, they're not, like, the worst. Like, this one's definitely held together a lot better than the other one, except for right here. But these are some boots that need some work. They also are a little too small at the top, although I think I could fix this by letting out the laces at the top some. So, these need some attention before they can really be worn again. It is how it is. You know, I just haven't gone around to fixing them yet because they're not something I'm going to be wearing every day. They very much just match this one outfit that I have. And I have so many combat boots that I can choose from, so I'm not going to be reaching to these, so fixing them is pretty low priority on my list, but it's definitely something that I'm going to need to do before I wear these again. I'm aware. So, moving on to look number 2, I call this my Halloween Pog jacket, for obvious reasons. The construction of this jacket is notably worse than the last one, so brace yourselves. And there's also a lot more going on with this jacket. So I'm just going to go section by section. So starting with the collar, I got a bunch of different Halloween little buttons from Michael's, I think, or maybe Joann's. I think probably last year. And I just sewed them on in fun little ways. It's pretty standard, and I got these little patches from Shine. I still have 2 left over to use with something else, but I think they look really cute. Then I'm going to start here because this is where I started. So as you can see, I started by hand stitching all of this, and it was nearly unbearable because it's 2 to 3 layers of leather depending on where you're stitching. Oh, also I should talk about where I got this leather. This jacket was originally a plain white jacket from Fashion Nova, as you can see. I'd recommend the brand if you like having boobs. Not a big fan myself, so I did have to, like, take it in some parts to try to get rid of these, like, big-ass darts that made my tits look huge. But this is a plain white jacket because they don't really sell orange jackets. It also looks way paler on camera than it is in real life, but it's also not as vibrant as I really want it to be. It's almost sort of like a salmony orange when I was really going for like Halloween orange, but this was the best I could do. And it works just fine, especially once you have like the black on it, it really reads more Halloween and orange. And I got this black fabric, this black leather from a jacket that I'd ordered when I was trying to get a jacket for my spider jacket. It was this whole fucking fiasco. I went through like 4 different orders before I finally got a jacket that like worked for it. Because like the first time, like the seller canceled the order on me, and then the second time it was too small, and this would happen to this one, and then the third time I got it, it was literally disintegrating pleather everywhere when I opened the bag in like a huge cloud. It just like it was spores, and it was literally unwearable. I had to just get rid of it. And then the third jacket worked, and it was really nice. Also, the reason why I have to buy jackets online is, even though I said I thrifted it, I can't go to a thrift store and get what I need because I'm plus size, and I'm looking for something really specific too. And there's also just not a lot of leather jackets. Like, I've never seen one in any of the like times I've gone to like Goodwills or like thrift shops in the area that I'm in. So I will buy them secondhand online. So these I started on by stitching, and I really didn't like how like wavy and messy it was looking no matter what. And it was taking so long, and it was so hard on my hands. So I decided to do something not great, and the rest of the jacket is hot glued together. Not entirely, but all the parts where it's like straight and it looks nice, it's actually hot glued together, as you can see in some parts where it's sticking out some, but it's not super noticeable. And I wore this to the pumpkin patch and the corn maze, and it held up and didn't like fall off terribly any time. It's probably not going to be super durable in the long run, but at the same time, this jacket is very niche, and I don't think it's going to be my go-to, because I have a go-to. It's my blue jacket, and I just like making them. So on this side, design-wise, I want it to be sort of like these stripes all over, and all sort of like patchwork and mismatched, so it really just looks very like Halloween and fun. So on this side I have a bit of a grid, this side just plain straight lines, and this side I have horizontal blocks on the arms, and this side I have vertical blocks. And on both sides I have these little cutout windows. So on this side there's a jack-o'-lantern, and on this side there's a crescent moon. There's the other half of it. I also have these thick black yarns. It's actually doubled up yarn. If I separate it, you can see it's 2 pieces there. And I just sort of sew it back and forth to create the zigzag here. Nothing super interesting going on with the arms, but this is definitely the place that's going to see the most sort of movement, so I want it to be pretty heavily glued on. I also have the original arm of the jacket that I tore apart that was too small. That goes here. Because I didn't want to throw away a perfectly good jacket that was just too small. That's actually where I got the idea for this jacket. I was like, what can I do with a jacket that is far too small? And I was like, I can cut it up and I put it on a bigger one. So that's what happened here. Another reason why I'm not too worried about the hot glue is that almost everywhere has something holding it in place. Like all these buttons here are stitched on through here, so that's not going anywhere. The yarn is stitched through most of the tops of these here. And then the back is not going anywhere, even if it tried, because there's an insane amount of pins on it. Look at this. So I think it's about like 40 Halloween pogs that I got. And I put them in these little enamel pin cases. And each one is different, and I still have more left over. So this is the back. It's really the simplest part of the jacket, but it's also like the showstopper. I had a lot of fun getting these all in their little cases. I definitely recommend, if you do try to do something like this, this is what I did firsthand, I didn't like discover this, but put the backs of the pins on in place where you want them, and then you can figure out where you want all your pogs, and then use a piece of sticky tape, just make a little roll of it, and place the pog on, and then put the cap on. So that way, they're all in the exact direction you want, and you don't have to fiddle with trying to figure out like, oh, it's slightly crooked, I have to take it out, put it back in again, like a million times. It was definitely very fast, and I really like how it looks, and it's also a really heavy jacket because it's 2 leather jackets and like a bunch of like acrylic pins on the back. It also sounds like a skeleton when I shake it. Tag yourself for which spook cap you are. I'm definitely this guy. So, moving on to the top, this is a black shirt that I got from like Michaels that I tie-dyed with bleach, and then I also put it in a yellow dye bath because my original plan was to have this be the shirt for the spider outfit, but it ended up really orange, so I just used it for this one instead. It is showing up yellow on camera, it is 100% orange in real life. Yeah, pretty simple shirt. I wear this one a lot just because it's super comfy. Yep. So, moving on to the bottom, these are just a pair of plain leather pants that I got at Target. They were on clearance. I was looking at the clearance rack and I saw them and I was like, these are very different, I need to have them, and I think they were like $10, so steal. And I also put in some little safety pins there and there to act as belt loops for my Halloween belt chains. I have a video on my channel going into how I made these, so you feel free to check that out. But they're made pretty much just how they look. You just get a bunch of little charms, like for a charm bracelet, but you put them on a belt chain. And then I also have the second one too, that is made out of these more fancy mirrored acrylic charms that I got from Etsy. So these are the bottoms, very simple, because there's so much going on with that jacket up top that I didn't want it to be too distracting or too much. So last up is these shoes, which are so amazing and incredible. I didn't make them, I bought them off of like Wish or some site like that, maybe with like AliExpress or something like that. I love these shoes, they're so cool. It's like, it gives me like 4 inches of height. These are also insanely tall platforms. They're the only pair of platforms that I have, and they have these really cool like vinyl orange like buckles on the side, and it zips up, and it has these bright orange shoelaces. And I love these shoes. They have these like really weird moon shoe sort of texture that don't help whatsoever. But these shoes are not the size of my feet. They're far smaller. I went to, again, the pumpkin patch and the corn maze in these, and I had to take ibuprofen when I got home from how badly my feet were hurting from wearing these, because they're much smaller than my feet. So I have a friend, my good friend Evil Twin, who has claimed ownership of these, so I hope they will find a better use in their new home, because they were not made for me, but I love them so much. I wish I could keep them, but they're so small for me. I'm a size 11. So for the final of these 3 looks, I call it the patch look because initially my plan was to, instead of dyeing this orange shirt, to sew black patches all over it. But I quickly decided that would be a bit more work than I had time for. So we had some spare black dye and I thought, oh, I can just use this and sort of like tie-dye it. But since this shirt is part cotton, part poly, it only dyed some of the fibers, and it created this really cool like heather effect in the fabric, and I really like it. It doesn't read as black and orange, though. It definitely looks just brown, which is why I call this now my dirt shirt. It's not really what I intended, but I still like how it came out, even if it just looks dirty. It's very comfy, so I will not be stopped from wearing it. Also on the top, I have these leggings, which I turned into arm sleeves. Don't mind the patterns, this is literally just the absolute cheapest pair of orange and black leggings I could find. You can tell because they are so blurry and pixely, but I like how they look. I feel like it sort of matches the blurriness of the shirt, and you don't see all of this part underneath it, so classic trick, just cut a hole in the crotch, then your arms go through there, your head goes through here, and your torso goes through here. Pretty easy enough, just wear it under the shirt, and it gives me some cute little arm sleeves. Then moving on to the bottoms, I just have these spare pair of black skinny jeans that I ended up wearing a hole through where my thighs meet, so I just ripped up some more to make it more cohesive and not just like you have a hole in your pants, and then I wear these bright orange leggings underneath it to create the bottom part of the look. And the final part of this look is these boots. They're just plain black combat boots, except They were actually originally these dark purple boots, and I just painted them black. And I also changed out the laces for orange ones. So that way it matches the rest of the outfit, the whole orange and black theme. I definitely think I'm probably going to get a lot more usage out of these now that they're a bit more generic and a bit more in my own color palette. They've got these 2 buckles on the back and a zipper down the side here and a little zipper pocket here too. I got these on eBay probably 10 years ago for like 30 bucks. It was a steal. They're nice boots. So that completes the final of these 3 Halloween looks. Let me know down in the comments below which one was your favorite, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!